Most people give up not because they're weak, but because they think they're not moving fast enough. But what if I told you, slow progress can carve something far greater than speed ever could? This is the story of a stone carver named Rohan, and the whispering river that taught him the true power of patience. In the sun-drenched valley of Arava, where the river Shantala flowed like a silver ribbon through green fields, lived a young man named Rohan. He was a stone carver, just like his father, and his father before him. But unlike them, Rohan had big dreams. He wanted to carve a sculpture so magnificent, so breathtaking, that people would travel from distant cities just to see it. He called his dream piece, the Ascent. A mountain of granite, covered in tiny, detailed figures of people climbing toward the top, a symbol of human perseverance. But there was a problem. Rohan wanted it fast. Too fast. He'd start carving with wild energy, hammering, chiseling, pushing himself harder each day. But one small mistake, one wrong strike, and he'd lose control. His frustration grew like fire. He looked at the old master's sculptures, smooth, balanced, perfect, and sighed. I'll never be that good. My hands are too slow. My progress too small. His workshop soon became a graveyard of half-finished stones, each one a reminder of his impatience. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, his best friend Leela, a potter known for her beautifully balanced clay pots, stopped by. She saw him lifting his hammer, ready to smash another unfinished sculpture. Rohan, she said softly, you seek the thunder, but you forget the rain. Rohan frowned. What good is the rain, Leela? The thunder is what people notice. The lightning is what makes them look up. I chip, and look. It's barely different from yesterday. Leela smiled gently. Maybe that's because you're watching for lightning, instead of listening to the river. She pointed toward the riverbank. There, as always, sat old man Covey, the quiet elder of the village, a man who hadn't spoken much in years, yet carried wisdom like a mountain carries stillness. Go, Leela said, ask Covey about the river. He knows the secret of the water's heart. So, Rohan went. He sat beside the old man, watching the water flow. Covey ji, Rohan said quietly, I am failing. I try to carve quickly to make a name for myself, but all I create is wreckage. How do I make the stone listen to my ambition? For a moment, there was only the sound of the river. Then Covey lifted a trembling hand and pointed, not to the middle where the current raced, but to the edge of the riverbank. There, half in water, half out, sat a massive boulder, weathered, smooth, ancient. Covey spoke in a low, gravelly whisper. The river flows quickly in the middle, yes. But the middle never touches the stone. It is the slow, ceaseless whisper of the water at the edge, the part you ignore, that smooths even the hardest rock. One drop, then another, then another. Never fast. Always there. Rohan stared at the boulder. The edge touched by the water was concave, carved slowly over years by the river's gentle persistence. Not by force. Not by speed. But by quiet, unshakable consistency. That night, Rohan couldn't sleep. The image of the stone shaped by water burned in his mind. The next morning, he picked up his finest chisel and chose a small piece of granite. This time, he didn't rush. He decided, one perfect figure a day. Just one. On the first day, he carved only a foot, the texture of the boot, the curve of the toe. On the second, a leg, strong and steady. On the third, a hand gripping a rope, full of determination. Each piece, slow. Each strike, careful. And for the first time, he wasn't frustrated. He could feel the life forming in the stone. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Leela would visit and smile, still the same stone, she'd tease. And Rohan would grin, still the same river. Almost a year passed. And finally, the day came. The sculpture, the ascent, stood complete. It wasn't born of thunder. It was carved by rain, by patience. When people came to see it, they didn't praise his speed. They whispered in awe at the detail, the emotion in each figure's face, the precision in every fold of stone. Rohan's name spread across cities, not for how fast he worked, but for how deeply he carved. He smiled, standing beside the finished sculpture, and thought of Kavi's words. One drop, then another. In a world obsessed with speed, it's easy to think slow means failure. But slow is where mastery lives. Slow is where character is built. And just like the river, your small, consistent steps, day after day, will shape even the hardest challenges in your life. Remember, you don't need thunder to make an impact. Sometimes, you just need to keep flowing. The whisper of the water may be slow, but it carves the strongest stone. If this story inspired you, watch another one right here. And don't forget to subscribe to Voice in the Rise, where every story reminds you that growth begins one quiet step at a time.